Thanks for checking out this video. Before we start, I am not a financial advisor and none of this should be considered financial advice. This tool is for educational and personal planning purposes only. It does not constitute financial, tax, legal or investment advice. All projections are estimates based on the values that you enter and are not guaranteed. Welcome back. In this video, I'm going to walk you through one of the most useful new features in the retirement planner, that is the plan health score, here shown in green. A retirement plan has a lot of moving parts: tax brackets, ACA subsidies, Medicare costs, required minimum distributions, portfolio drawdown, guaranteed income. It's easy to optimize one thing and accidentally create a problem somewhere else. The plan health score watches all of it at once. 8 automated checks run every single time you adjust a withdrawal, and you get an instant traffic light signal telling you where your plan is strong, where it's borderline, and where it needs attention. Let's step through exactly how it works. At the top of the Overview tab, you'll see a small green button. It says something like Plan Health 6 out of 8, 7 out of 8, 8 out of 8. The number tells you how many of the 8 checks your current plan passes. 6 or more turns it green. 4 or 5 is amber. Below 4 is red. And that means there are things worth looking at before you commit to this plan. The badge updates live. Change a withdrawal amount, switch from single to married filing, extend the plan to age 90. The badge recalculates instantly. You never have to go looking for problems. The score comes to you. Click the badge to open the full breakdown. A panel slides in from the right showing the complete picture. At the top, you get a visual meter bar. The fuller this gets, the stronger the plan. Followed by this section at the top, which lets you know whether your plan is a strong plan, whether it's a good foundation, or whether it needs review. Below that are the 8 individual checks. Each one is either green with a tick, amber with a warning triangle, or red with a cross. Every check has a plain English explanation telling you exactly what it found and, when it's not green, exactly what to do about it. Let's go through each check and what it means for your plan. Our first check is income adequacy. This is the most fundamental check. Does your plan actually produce enough income? It checks 2 things. First, that every single phase has a positive net monthly income. No month should end with you spending too much. Secondly, it checks that your real inflation-adjusted income in the final phase is at least half of what it was in the first phase. Inflation is slow but relentless. A plan that looks great at 62 can quietly erode to almost nothing by 80. So let's just have a look at how that might work. To make this really obvious, we're going to adjust our income in phase 1 so that it's over $4,000, and we're going to reduce this income here to a very, very low level just for the sake of example, and we can see now that the real income here, $1,955, is less than half of what it was in the first phase. So this is a basic check, but it is something that's here to give an overall sense of confidence in the plan. When all these 8 checks are green, you can be very confident that you have a good plan. And we can see in this example that income adequacy has now turned amber and it is flagging as a warning. And we can correct that by simply adjusting the numbers to something that makes more sense for this plan. So let's do this, and let's do this. And now we can see that the number of checks has gone back to 8, and when I click on that, and now it shows us that all phases show positive income and real purchasing power remains above 50% of the starting balance. Check 2 of our Plan Health Optimizer is the tax bracket efficiency. The sweet spot for most retirees is to keep taxable income below the top of the 22% bracket, roughly 100,000 for a single filer and 200,000 for a married couple in today's terms, inflation adjusted across your plan. This check turns amber if any phase pushes income into 22% bracket territory, and red if any phase crosses 200,000 in taxable income, which puts you in the 32% tax bracket. Now, we don't model a 32% tax bracket in this visual indicator down here because we don't expect people to want to pay 32%. We think that most people will be within those limits. Having said that, let's just take a look at what it might look like if we do trigger that warning. So let's imagine that we have a very healthy retirement portfolio here, and we're withdrawing a lot of money in this first phase here. Let's just hit this. We can see that the plan health has gone to 3 out of 8. That shows us that there are quite a few things that we might be able to do to optimize this plan from here. But if we open it up, we can see that our overall plan score has got down. Our plan says review needed, and we can see our tax bracket efficiency section here has indeed gone red. It's got the red cross, and it says one or more phases have taxable income above 200,000. You're in the 32% plus bracket. Consider Roth conversions in lower income phases. So if this is amber or red, the most powerful fix is Roth conversions before the high income phase. So if this happens later on in, say, phase 4 or 5 in our example, then consider doing Roth conversions in phase 1 or 2 when your income is lower, filling up the 12% bracket each year. Every dollar converted at 12% today is a dollar that won't be taxed at 32% when RMDs kick in. The third check in our health plan optimizer is the ACA Subsidy Protected check. ACA subsidies are protected across all pre-Medicare phases. Check 3 only applies if you have any pre-Medicare phases, typically ages 60 to 64. In this plan, we have phase 2 here, which is age 62 to 65, and that is a pre-Medicare phase, as Medicare starts in phase 3 at the age of 65. The Affordable Care Act offers substantial health insurance subsidies to anyone whose modified adjusted gross income, or MAGI, stays below 400% of the federal poverty level. In 2026, that's roughly $58,000 for a single person. Cross that line even by $1 and the entire subsidy disappears. For most people, that's $5,000 to $15,000 a year in healthcare costs that suddenly appear. Let's see that in action. We'll go and we'll increase this monthly withdrawal here to $6,000 a month, and you can see that we already get this warning here which says over FPL cliff, which means yes, we're going to lose those subsidies. But here in our health plan, that helps us to flag this, and ACA subsidy cliff triggered in phase 1. MAGI is 112% of FPL over the 400% ceiling, so the full premium subsidy is lost. Reduce 401k withdrawals or substitute tax-free Roth distributions to bring MAGI below the cliff. What a lot of people will do here is they will reduce the 401k income, and maybe if they would like more money in this phase, increase the amount of cash, as that does not affect the ACA subsidy at all. If it's red, go to the edit and reduce the 401k or portfolio withdrawal in the affected phase, whichever phase covers your pre-Medicare years. You may be pulling out more than you need. Consider drawing from your Roth IRA instead for that phase, since Roth distributions don't count towards MAGI. Even shifting $5,000 a year out of the 401k and into Roth withdrawals can keep you safely below the cliff. Check 4 watches Medicare costs. IRMAA stands for Income Related Monthly Adjusted Amount. It's the Medicare surcharge that kicks in when your income exceeds roughly $106,000 for a single filer. Cross that line and your Part B and Part D premiums jump by $65 to $280 per month, depending on how far over you go. So let's see that in action. We're going to use a Medicare phase for this, and we're going to kick this income up to a really high amount here just to ensure that we trigger this warning for demonstration purposes. We can see our plan health has altered here, and we look at the IRMAA section, which is triggered here. MAGI exceeds the IRMAA threshold in at least one phase. Medicare Part B and D surcharges apply. Reducing 401k withdrawals or doing Roth conversions earlier can prevent this. So if this is red, this is almost always caused by large 401k withdrawals in the later phases when Medicare has started. The fixes are similar to check 2. First, check whether you can reduce the 401k withdrawals and substitute tax-free Roth conversions. Roth withdrawals don't count towards IRMAA income. Second, look at whether Social Security and pension income alone is already close to the threshold. If it is, any 401k withdrawal at all may push you over, and a Roth heavy strategy becomes essential. Third, consider bunching large one-off withdrawals, such as a lump sum, into a phase where you're already over the threshold rather than creating a new breach. Check 5 is to see whether our portfolio survives to the end of our plan period. It looks at whether your portfolio, particularly the core accounts like your 401k and cash savings, remains healthy through all phases except the very last one. It's normal for balances to decline in later phases. What's not okay is the core portfolio reaching zero in earlier phases, leaving you entirely dependent on equity or Roth assets for 15 more years with no buffer. Continuing from the last example, we did increase the 401k withdrawal, which has triggered this warning. If this is amber or red, look at the balance chart tab. Here's the balance chart tab. It shows you exactly when and which account runs dry. So if we look at this tab here, we can see this blue line, which is the 401k, kind of runs dry around here, which is far too early. The most direct fix is to reduce withdrawals in the early phases. Even cutting phase 1 spending by $500 a month can dramatically extend portfolio longevity. Another way to check this is by looking at the account balances at the end of each phase. So we can see the account balance here, the end of this phase, has gone to 0. So if we put this back to now 2,800, which is what it was before, we can see that we have a healthy balance now in our 401k at the end of this phase and at the end of this phase. So we can look at the balance chart to see when it runs out, and here we can see that it's not running out anymore. Or we can look at the end of each phase and make sure that we have some funds left in those accounts so that they don't run dry. You can also check whether your investment return assumptions are realistic. If you're using 8% or 9% growth rates, nudging these down to 6 to 7% gives you a more conservative test. Check 6 is RMD compliance, our required minimum distributions. It's about IRS rules. Once you reach the age of 73, the government requires you to take a minimum withdrawal from your pre-tax 401k every year. It's called the required minimum distribution. If your planned withdrawal is below that amount, you'll owe a 25% penalty on the shortfall. This check catches that automatically. It identifies any phase where your 401k withdrawal falls below the estimated RMD for that phase and tells you the monthly shortfall. So to see that in action, let's go to our phase 5 here, and we will just reduce this from 2,800 a month to $100 a month. Now the first thing you'll see is we do get the warning here that says RMD estimate 1286 a month. Withdrawal may be below IRS minimum. Shortfall $1,186 a month. If we go to now look at our optimizer, we can see that that's triggered our RMD compliance, and again RMD shortfall, IRS penalties, 25% of shortfall apply. Increase 401k withdrawals in the RMD phase immediately. So a good check there to make sure that we don't accidentally get any penalties on our account. If this is amber or red, the fix is straightforward. Go to Edit, find the phase that covers age 73 and older, typically phase 4 or 5, and increase the 401k withdrawal by at least the shortfall amount shown. For example, if the panel says shortfall $340, increase your phase 4 or 5 401k withdrawals by $340 per month. Note that the RMD grows each year as the IRS divisor shrinks with age, so setting the withdrawals slightly above the estimated minimum gives you a comfortable buffer. Check 7 is our income floor foundation, and it measures how well anchored your income is. Your guaranteed floor is the income you'll receive no matter what markets do. Social Security, a UK state pension, CPP, an annuity. This check asks what percentage of your average monthly income is genuinely guaranteed. If guaranteed income covers 50% or more, the check is green. Between 25% and 50%, it's amber. Below 25% means that more than 3/4 of your income depends on the portfolio every single month, and that makes you highly vulnerable to a bad sequence of returns in the first 10 years of retirement. Let me just show you what that might look like in our planner here. To just show you this, I am going to reduce our floor by drastically reducing our amount of Social Security. Now we did have a floor of $2,800. That was our Social Security payment we were getting at 67. I've temporarily moved that to $200 a month so that we can see that being flagged. When it is flagged, it will tell you guaranteed income $200 a month covers only 6% of your average income. The plan is heavily portfolio dependent. Delaying Social Security or adding a pension would substantially reduce risk. Let's put that back to where it was, 2,800, and now we can see a green check mark for that. The final test in our health plan optimizer is the stress test resilient. This runs a burr scenario in the background every time you open the panel. It drops all investment returns by 3% points and raises inflation to 5%, roughly the conditions of 2022 or a sustained stagflation period. Then checks whether your portfolio survives to your target age. This is a meaningful test. A plan that only works in good markets isn't really a plan. If we take a look at that now, we can see that this is marked in red. If it is marked in red, first build up your cash buffer. Bucket 1 in the 3-bucket framework. 2 to 3 years of spending in cash means you can weather a 30% market drop without selling anything. Second, look at whether you can reduce withdrawals in the first 5 years specifically. Sequence of returns risk is most dangerous early in retirement. Third, recheck whether delaying Social Security is feasible. A higher guaranteed floor directly reduces how much you need from the portfolio in bad years. The stress test tab lets you see the full 12 scenario grid, base, bear and bull, across 4 inflation levels, so you can see exactly which combination is most dangerous for your specific plan. We have now got a plan health of 8 out of 8, and all our optimizations have been completed successfully. However, there is another level of fine-tuning that we could do optionally if we would like. Let's go to our drawdown strategies. If we look at each strategy now, you can see that it has a colored dot next to it. Green means all 3 strategy specific checks pass. Amber means 2 of 3 pass, and red means fewer than 2 pass. And a grey dot means the strategy is excluded from consideration given the current setup. The grey dot situations are important. If your 3 buckets button shows grey, it means you don't yet have a Roth IRA balance or enough cash savings to fund your first bucket. The fix, even a small Roth IRA or building your cash savings to cover 2 to 3 years of portfolio withdrawals, unlocks this strategy immediately. If your floor and upside button shows grey, it means your guaranteed income floor is below 30% of your income target. The strategy isn't well suited to your current setup. Not wrong, just less effective. Delaying Social Security or adding other guaranteed income sources is the path to unlocking it. Let's just have a look at a couple of examples here. This has got a green dot. These are the confidence checks. They all have a green check mark. Our variable strategy, our 3 bucket strategy. On the floor and upside, we do have one warning here that we could look at and fine tune. What does it say? It says portfolio positive at end. Portfolio is $42,716 short of what's needed to fund the gap sustainably. Delay Social Security or reduce spending target. And going on to guardrails, we can see there's one case there that could be fine-tuned, but overall it's looking pretty good. If we have the health plan looking all green, then we're good to go. If in addition to that we have the drawdown strategies looking green, we can be very confident that this is a very secure retirement strategy. The plan health score doesn't replace your judgment, it augments it. It's a set of 8 expert eyes that watch your plan 24/7 and raise a flag the moment something shifts out of alignment. Use it as a feedback loop. Adjust a withdrawal, check the badge, see what moved. Over time you'll develop an intuition how each input connects to each check. And that intuition is exactly what separates a retirement plan that looks good from one that actually holds up. If you found this useful, the full written explanation for each check is in the panel itself. Thanks for watching.